Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you, depending on where you are viewing or joining me from. This is an impromptu, but I thought I spare some moments to give appreciation to some individuals, some human beings who currently are cohabiting with us on this planet that are worthy of recognition. Individuals whose contribution in this world are of biblical proportion. And if life permits and God is willing, I will write the history this time so that the history can be truthful. Because what we are witnessing in this world today is of biblical proportion. And the same God you read about is still very active and is performing all those miracles we read about in the Bible. Right now, God is performing those miracles, but those who are operating on the physical cannot relate to it. But we are taking note that the same God is very active, but those who are only operating on the physical are blind to what is going on in our world. You know, all those terrible rulers, all those terrible kings you read in the Bible, they are here. You know, all those things you read in history, Hitler is already here. Hitler is in operation. Good evening, my dear brothers. I'm going to greet all of you soon. Let me give this message. It's so important. Hitler is here. Hitler revisited. Pharaoh is here. Pharaoh revisited. Herod is here. Herod revisited. People need to understand this. But let me first of all begin by saluting and dropping my heart. My heart, I think I should drop it. Dropping my heart for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I think you deserve every human being's respect, irrespective of what we think or what people might think of you, irrespective of who wants to misunderstand you. I am removing my heart for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the Great, because history will record you as the Great. You came, you saw, and you conquered. You became a vehicle that was willing to use your unique talent for the service of humanity. Many may have misunderstood you because of the way they have been conditioned, but I do understand you. You are not perfect and you will never be perfect. I will never expect perfection from you because I am not perfect, and no human being on this earth is perfect. But one thing is for sure, you are a great servant to humanity. You are. History will have you down as one of the best that existed, who used everything you have within you, everything that was deposited on you to serve humanity. And I pray and hope that your service to humanity has only just begun. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I salute you, because through your ministry, many had been activated. Many had seen what was hidden from them. Many had seen what was before them, but they could not interpret it. Many had seen, and if they didn't go to correct it, it wouldn't be your fault. it will be our collective fault because you left no stone unturned. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, I want to salute you. I want to salute all those that have actually seen what you have said and had acted and began to act on it. I want to thank Chief Sunday Igboho. Chief Sunday Igboho, you are a great servant to humanity because you saw the message, you interpreted the message, you understood the message, and you went forth in service to humanity, because all you two were fighting for was for the freedom, for the liberation of humanity. And humanity acknowledges that. That is why I'm speaking. I want to acknowledge your work to humanity. Sometimes I feel very emotional in my own quiet time when I look at what you two have sacrificed, especially Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I want to thank both of you for seeing the vision, understanding the true situation of things, seeing the suffering of your people, and you were prepared to go forth and do the necessary. Humanity respects you. Humanity salutes you this day. I thought I'd come on today impromptu to make sure that I make this video and I make this broadcast. So I have already made up my mind that today I will reassure all of you once again that you cannot be intimidated by death, because death is the only debt, D-E-B-T, however you pronounce it, that every human being owes. We all owe death, something that we must pay, whether we like it or not. So never be afraid of death. That is just what cowards use to intimidate others, as if they haven't got their own dates with death. Trust me, every killer will die. Every killer will face death. So don't be afraid about those who believe that bullets can silence the voice of humanity. It will never happen, because nobody, no human being owns humanity. I do understand the full constructs of humanity. I can assure you that. I can tell you, and you know already, what my views are in terms of how each of us arrived in this world. But let's keep that for another day. Let me go on with appreciation of people that God is using to show the light, so that those who are in darkness, those who are blind, may see. I want to acknowledge also Mazi Simon Ekpa. Mazi Simon Ekpa. Also, I want to acknowledge Mayegun General. Mayegun General. I want to acknowledge also Mazi Olayomi Koiki. I want to acknowledge Mazi Emeka Anyanwu. I know that these are people that I have managed to access and assess their work towards humanity. And I feel privileged to have known these individuals in terms of their work. I sit back and sometimes I admire what comes out from them. And I would wish and hope that humanity listens to these people, because all they have is message to rescue humanity, to liberate and free humanity from this self-imposed bondage. The bondage humanity is currently in is self-imposed. It's just self-imposed because of what I call stupidity, what I call grandiosity, what I call ignorance, what I called delusions, what I call also grandiosity. I hope people know what grandiosity means, when people begin to assume what they are not, because we are currently occupying a world where some people who were byproducts and accidental consequences of two people's sexual intercourse, some people who came out of this world like everybody else, totally empty-handed, naked, totally useless, hopeless, and totally vulnerable, to the extent that they depended on every other person. They depended on people for their survival, suddenly began to claim ownership of the world. So I just want to give thanks to these people who have recognized who they are as human beings, and because of that recognition have gone forth to do the necessary in terms of reminding us all who we are and what we are made of, and the work, the purpose for creating us in this world, which is to use our unique talents in service of one another. That is what we are here to do. We are here to work in partnership with God, the Creator, through nature, to replenish this earth. We're here to ensure that we do not only reproduce, but multiply what we eat and what animals eat. You know very well that what defines an animal is the fact that every animal can eat, but no animal can ever be able to cultivate, reproduce, or multiply what they eat. Rather, all animals depends on human beings, you and I, and our nature for the reproduction and multiplication of what they eat. So all those who told you that you are part of the animal kingdom are just liars. They don't actually know what they're talking about. It is through this confusion in their brains that they have sown terrible seeds of discord in humanity, and they are the reason why humanity is malfunctioning. Now I want to make it clear that it is in humanity that both the expansion and the extraction of this world and its limitless resources are embedded. This is why we build skyscrapers. We build and design all manner of structures. We also reproduce, we carry out all manner of experiments and do things that only human beings can do. Animals are standard. Animals are repetitive. Animals can only do that assigned to them by nature. They can't do any variations. They can't rebrand anything. They can't. Check it and you would know that the same nest a particular bird type builds in Africa is what the same bird builds anywhere you find them, be it in Europe, Asia, or wherever else. The same food a dog eats, the same food an elephant eats, the same food an ape eats in Africa is what they naturally eat wherever you find these animals. Wherever you see any animal eating anything different, then you must find that a human being has done something with that animal. A human being is doing something, because it is only in human being also that we can alter animals, alter our environment, even alter our own selves. That is the power given to only human beings. No other creature on earth, even angels, don't possess such power. God gave us that just to ensure that we can exercise free will. That is why a baby today can eat poison. In fact, an adult would eat poison, because what adults eat are things they are already convinced are edible. Any other thing had to be eaten through experiment. A human being can't go eating anything they see. They have to carry out an experiment or eat what is already known to be edible. You need to understand these things. Whereas in animals, once an animal is born, an animal knows what to eat and what not to eat. Go check it out. There are lots of things I'll tell you about humanity, the difference between us and animals, to prove the fact that we are human beings. We are never gods and we are never animals. Okay, we are never God that planted everything here on earth before each of us emerged from our respective mother's womb, totally empty-handed. We never created anything. We never brought anything into this world. So we are not God. We only visited the earth through accident because two people indulged in sexual intercourse. And we are not animals because animals depend on us and nature for the reproduction and also the multiplication of what they eat. That aside, I want to come back to thanking these individuals that are contributing enormously to the freedom and liberation of humanity. But before I do so, I want to warn all those who are creating havoc on this earth. I want to warn all those that are carrying the genes of Herod, carrying the genes of Pharaoh, carrying the genes of Hitler, carrying those evil genes. I want to warn them, and I want to remind them that irrespective of the alliances they form, irrespective of the evil alliances they form, irrespective of the secret societies they form, irrespective of the ammunition they amass, irrespective of the earthly possessions they also amass against humanity, I want to remind them of something they really need to think about. One thing I will say to them is they need to remember Pharaoh, they need to remember Herod, they need to remember Hitler, etc., all the evils of the past. They need to ask themselves, where are these people now? Don't they know that the same faith that are meted to these people will be their portion? Don't they know that in spite of all they have amassed, in spite of all those alliances, because you need to see Europeans, the European government working together, and 85% of the work they do is simply focused on suppressing and destroying Africa. Trust me, go put it somewhere that I told you. Yeah, 85% of the work done in European parliaments, European government, they are fixated on Africa. Okay, and as far as they are concerned, okay, they have an alliance, and they have the secret societies. They built all these massive things, just believing in these things. But I want to tell them this. It doesn't matter how many they are. They should rest assured that on departure, just like everybody else, each of them will depart from this earth lonely, alone, and empty-handed. I need them to know this. Okay? And I also need those in Africa that work in partnership with them to suppress their own, to know that those alliances, all those nonsense, yeah, they will come to naught at the end of the day, because they will each depart lonely, alone, and empty-handed. And I want to remind everybody that when we talk about free will simply means conscience. If people don't know, they should know this. Free will means conscience, and conscience implies consequences. I want to tell them and warn that they must not be like little babies in the womb that think that the world begins and ends inside the womb. That is what every baby in the womb thinks. They must not think that the world starts here and ends here on earth. I need to remind them, because if they choose to be babies in the stomach, then I can assure them 100% that they will cry like those babies, because when babies storm out of that womb, which they never thought they would, because every baby thinks the womb is where it ends, They will be crying like those babies, because every normal baby, when they come out of the womb, will scream because, first of all, they are hit by the wind. They are hit by the elements that are not the condition of the womb. So they cry, they scream. That is the shock that will hit these individuals who have formed evil alliances. These individuals who are misguided, who are uncultured, who have no understanding that humanity only operates within the confines of collaboration, cooperation, and complement. These people are so blind to this. You know, if you want to know how confused these people are, you will only know it from the fact that these are people who would want to separate couples and ask them to divorce where there is exploitation, where there is abuse, and where there is violence. But these people bring communities together knowing that all they are fostering is abuse, exploitation, and violence of the highest order. That tells you the magnitude of the confusion in their brains. Forget about the suits they wear. Forget about their eloquence. Forget about what they claim. These are totally uncivilized, unrighteous, sinful human beings. Now I'm thanking the people that are currently working fixated with the idea that humanity has to be liberated. Humanity has to be freed. Freedom and liberty are a given and a gift from God. But human beings decided to engage and enslave themselves. I want to also thank all the members of Global Advocacy for Humanity for seeing the light and working quietly, consistently in changing minds and changing human beings' mindset. I want to thank you all. Now, the work that these individuals have done will stand firm and will remain in history, and their names must be embedded in history. God willing, I will ensure that. Life permitting, I will ensure that. I've told everybody that our duty in this world is to live each day and do whatever is possible for a better tomorrow, bearing in mind that tomorrow could be with or without us. But so long as we have done what we should do for today in service to humanity, tomorrow will take care of itself. I need people to know that the contraption called NIGGAR-AREA, I want people to know that the evil arrangement called Nigeria has to come to an end, because it's an eyesore to humanity. I want to read a little bit of what I wrote this morning so people get to know this. And as I read it, I don't care whether you're an individual, a community, a country, or a continent. You can just honestly assess yourself without telling us. You'll find that what I have said is true. I said this morning that it is impossible for any individual, community, country, or continent to support the evil and inhumane idea of one NIGGAR-AREA, one Nigeria, without being one, two, or more of the following. 1. Vile racist. 2. Intensely fraudulent. 3. Self-destructively selfish and greedy. Can I explain that one so you know what I mean? Being self-destructively selfish and greedy is when you are so greedy, you are taking everything. But you don't know that your greed and selfishness will damage and destroy you in the end. That is when you are self-destructively selfish and greedy. That means you are psychotically grabbing. You are fixated on crude oil. You are fixated on money. You are grabbing whilst destroying others without knowing that the destruction of others simply means the destruction of self. That is what I mean by intensely. No, that's what I mean by self-destructively selfish and greedy. 4, you are an abuser and an orchestrator of evil acts against humanity. When you look at these four, you would find yourself in 1, 2, or more of them if you are a supporter of one Nigeria or one NIGGAR-AREA, because that's what it is actually. It doesn't matter whether you are an individual, a community, a country, or a continent. Once you support the idea of one Nigeria, okay, you must find yourself in 1, 2, or more of these things I have said. Very important for us to understand. Ladies and gentlemen, this video I want to keep short because I just want to commend the awesome work of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who became an eye-opener to humanity. And I want to commend all those who took leaves from his book, because what he was depositing to humanity was literally a book. So I want to thank Chief Sunday Igboho. I want to also thank Mazi Simon Ekpa. I want to thank Mayegun General. I want to thank Olayomi Koiki. I want to thank Emeka Anyanwu. And I want to thank all those that I haven't come across or haven't taken time to study, that are working tirelessly, using their unique gifts to ensure that humanity is liberated from self-imposed bondage. But most importantly, I want to thank all the members of global advocacy for humanity, for the tremendous work you people are doing across the world, quietly, subtly, effectively, consistently, and relentlessly. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank those that joined me. It's an impromptu. I wasn't expecting too many people to join me, but I do know that people will later on latch onto the video. So can I thank Cyril Abaleke, Emmanuel, John. Thank you for all those love hearts you sent me. I love you too. And you said, Emmanuel, you said, good evening, sir. I say good evening to you too. Thank you very much. Leo Nwa Chineke, thank you for joining me. Grace Emi Ogolo, thank you for joining me. I say good evening, sir. Good evening to you too. Val Ume, thank you for joining me. Val, who else do I have here? Felix Anyanwu, thank you for joining me. Teddy Rowe, thank you very much, Teddy, for joining me. I think it's been a while. Who else is here? I'm sorry, my screen is not behaving itself. But let's see who else is here. Sonny Flash, thank you, Sonny Flash, for joining me. Let me see. Come on now, this thing, I don't know whether there are still many people I haven't mentioned their names yet. Let me see. I've called Sonny Flash, just bear with me. Okay, Florence Floxy Moore, thank you, Florence Floxy Moore, for joining me. Ben Ejeka, thank you for joining me. Thank you all that joined me. I wanted to keep it brief. It's an impromptu. People will latch onto it later on. I'm not one to ask people to share my videos. I believe that human beings have got free will, and if they believed something is important to them, they would naturally know that it could be important to others. So it is up to people to exercise their free will in sharing. But I must maintain that we are all visitors to this world. And when we visited, we all came empty-handed. And on departure, we must also all leave empty-handed, alone, and lonely. I thank you all. Remain blessed. I remain Princess EZE, advocate for humanity. Bye for now.